Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and good evenings to everyone. So to all distinguished guests, our speakers, presenter, and also participants today. So we would like to extend our warm welcome to all to this session today. So I think in this session four basically. So the topic that we're going to discuss is very important, and also it is about talent development. Okay, so the topic we're going to cover is education, talents, technology, innovations is a key factors for Johor economic transformation. So I think based on the previous session, several discussion has been done. All the session address the importance of the talent developments, and also how so innovation, can be growth to fulfill the requirement or the needs of the industry, and also to help the Johor government to speed up the growth of their economy, basically. Okay. So, education, talent, and technology and innovation, basically, offering by the university. I think everyone agreed that, in the university, we are working very hard, to produce or to develop the best talent for the country, and also some university basically offer their talents to the global market. Okay, so today we have three speakers with us. Dato, Ibrahim, Ahmad, which is chairman of the UTHM, and then previously chairman of UMP, and currently also chairman of UniKL, isn't it? Okay. Oh, no more. Okay, all right. And then we have the next speaker is Associate Professor N. Vergis, which is from the University of Reading. So she taking care of academic director for the teaching and learning for that university. Okay. Then we have our last speaker basically to share his experience running Newcastle University Medicine Malaysia at the Iskandar, Malaysia. Okay, so I would like to invite our first speaker, Dato Sri Ibrahim Ahmad, to share his experience basically, because Dato Sri basically has several experience heading a few government agencies, and then I think heading also a few universities. The last is UTHM. It's about the Hampton University basically, focusing on TVET. Maybe he can share his thought about our education landscape, experience in developing talents in the country, and then maybe discussing about the way forward of education in Malaysia. Hopefully that he can also address the gap between industry and university. Okay, please, Dato.
Hello. Okay. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat sejahtera. Good afternoon. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajmain. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala ali Muhammad. Mr. Chairman, distinguished speakers, friends, ladies and gentlemen, I think before we talk about talent, before we talk about education, I would like to share some of my view with regard to our country today. I'm a Malaysian. I'm a Johoran as well. So basic issue that I would like to share this evening is with regard to our country, facing to the rakyat. Actually, the first is about high cost of living. High cost of living actually related to demand versus supply, or demand greater than supply. So the price will go up. It's very simple. So how to address the issue? We got to go more supply. You see? So these are the basic issue of in our country. We can create a lot of things with regard to the food especially. Last time we used to have a Bumi Hijau or Green Book. Probably we can relaunch back our Green Book, you know. Second is about housing price. It's ridiculous price. You know, how could we allow the price of the house determined by the market forces? Sorry, I'm also economic graduate, I know. Because for the capitalists, they like to have more profit, etc. But basically, if you study the whole world, you know, the price of the house normally will be based on disposal income. Normally, the repayment must be not more than 1/3 of their income. If they got 3,000 a month, the maximum they can pay for the house for 25 years or 20 years is not more than 1,000. Mana ada rumah 1,000 now? So we are killing ourselves. Okay? The third issue is about unemployment. Unemployment is related to the industry. Where our industry heading for? In 1980s, 90s, we have industrial master plan. Very clear for everybody to go out. You know, but now, where is our economic planning for the next 10 or 20 years in time? The fourth issue, which is I think everybody alert, is about our governance. Our governance, you know. That's why I put it trustworthy, or the word amanah, you know, versus corruption. Every day we can open up the papers, you can see a lot of, you know, very uncalled for terms given to us. So for that, based on this basic, I think the basic issues, we need to transform. Johor need to transform. Not only Johor, it's Malaysia especially. I would suggest for Johor, if there is a Johorian, the government sector here, I would like to suggest for Johor, we should focus on few industries. First, agriculture for food production. As I said earlier, the demand greater than supply, you should give more on supply side. And then we have our neighbors. We should think about ASEAN region, because we are actually Johor, our position, we are the center of ASEAN country. It's more than 320 million population and the market around. Second industry that I suggest for Johor is about tourism. Tourism is the second largest foreign exchange for our country. You can see Malacca, the pergi Antua only, you know, around this table. 3.2 million visitors. If they spend 10 ringgit, how many million they can make money out of it? And you create retail, you create job. So the simplest, I think, tourism. Third, maritime, because Malaysia, Johor is surrounded by the good coastal area. We need to, embark on this, on maritime, on not only logistics, but on marine product as well. And E&E, this is another area that I think I would like Johor to consider. Currently, I'm sitting as a chair of Mimos Berhad. You know, we are actually stimulating the E&D for our country. For your information, in 2021, our export 40%, 42% came from E&D industry. Very unfortunate, 6.85% only produced by our local players. So the government actually encourages us to get up to 40% of local product. The rest taken by the multinational corporation in this world. Easy? So, fifth area that I would like to suggest for Johor is aerospace. Since aerospace, another emerging industry for the world, And our strategic area, we are close to Singapore, close to Indonesia, as well as center of ASEAN. I think this industry also should be stationed here. And the last, which I suggest about analytics, this is for everybody to know that we need to embark on the AI, IoT, etc., etc., etc. So when we know the industry, we know the problem, now we address how that the talent and the education to fit the requirement of industry. The problem now, industry doing what they want to do. I came from public university, sorry to say this. We always thinking about everything, you know. For instance, in my university, we supposed to focus on TVET, technical and vocational. But some rather we are still offering the full engineering. We are supposed to focus on engineering technology and technologies. So these are another challenge that we need to address. So for that matter, the role of education training institution should be revamped. Should focus on what actually the industry want. For instance, if in Johor, you will focus on 6 areas, so the whole entire training institution in Johor should focus on that. For UTHM, for instance, they are research university. They have to do all the fundamental research, the new economy, the new words, the new so-called the ID economy, that's leaving to them. But for UTHM, for instance, for the IKM, for the ILP, all these institutions, they should focus on how actually to run the business, how to run or to help the industry to grow, etc. So for institution, I would suggest it must create outcome-based. Most of institution, our institution, we are focused on output. How many graduates produced from university? We are not interested in that. We should focus on what the outcome. If, for instance, I would suggest here, the Tiger One, first, we have the university or the institution, they must produce the global and marketable competent workforce. Someone that we can do. If the air condition not function, they can do something and the aircon function. You can feel cool, you know. So no need for you to derive dy dx or any function of that, you know. X squared, etc. No need, you know. So that is the so-called the competent workforce. The second, we should produce more professional. This is very, I think, very interesting topic. We should produce professional. On the other hand, I was talking to our president, Dewan Peniaga Iskandar, in senior Dato Ibrahim just now. He's all the way become a consultant. He become, high income people, you know. These are the things that we would like to produce for our future university and our tertiary level. The third, which I suggest, is about potential technopreneurs. They are not entrepreneurs yet, but they have to be trained to do the startup, etc., etc. Because there's no formula in order to solve our economic problem by not involve or embrace in the entrepreneurship development program. We need to do that. And of course, in the university, we need to have a teaching and learning approach, you know. In my university, we already introduced the problem-based learning and values-driven. Normally, when the graduate came to the market, the employer not looking on the competency, but looking on the value, the attitude, the virtue of the student, of the graduates. We need to address on the issue. And also the technology, you know. For the last, I think, 2-3 years, we are facing a lot of problems with our COVID, you know, effect. So we need to embark on the metaverse, you know, augmented reality and virtuality and all sorts of technology that should be embedded in our institution, in our higher learning, especially. And third point that I would like to share this evening with regard to education also, with regard to technology and innovation. We need to do the homegrown technology. All the while, normally we are the users. Now we need to produce more producers. We need to create more creators. We used to talk about triple helix, but today we're talking about quadruple helix collaboration with government, you know, private sector, public institution, and as well as business, and civil society. Some people say civil society is about Madani. It's Madani lah. Okay. And on innovation and technological mindset, it should be, if you can see, the whole entire industry today, if you can focus, they are toward digitalization and decarbonization. You please check the whole entire initiative that we do now, strictly whether we aware or not, we are towards that. That's why they got smart city, smart production, all kind of digitalization. And decarbonization, ESG. We need to impact on the environment, or the green technology, etc., etc. And of course, when we talk about technology, we talk about innovation. If you involve in agriculture, for instance, we have now in Malaysia introducing the so-called the precision farming, the urban farming, the vertical farming. I went to Japan a few times. We can see how the community in Japan produce their own product within their office. They got a lot of product within. They got vertical farming. And nowadays, the trend, the talent that we should produce, that we're actually producing now, they are staying, they call it local workplace. You stay in Johor Bahru, but you're working in Atlanta, Georgia in US. That's a trend now. I got a few friends in Kuala Lumpur, their children staying in Bandar Baru Bangi, but they are working with the top, this media company. They produce content. They earn 50,000 a month. Single, These are the process of the globalization in place. So they call it global workplace. They stay lowest cost community. They stay in Malaysia. They don't need to go to US. Don't need to go to Switzerland. Don't need to go to England. But they are working everywhere. So the last point I would like to share for today is about we need to reform our organization, our structure reform, especially on our integrity, our transparency, and our ethical leadership. Rule of law should be executed or implemented. And the institutional independent and state training institution transformation. This is for Johor. I would like to suggest some of our college here should be revisited. For instance, our College Hasan Johor, probably our sekolah agama pun kita kena tengok. We need to realign with actually what we want to achieve at the end of the day. And of course, we need to do speed. We need to have speed, cost, and quality. Because speed, we are living in the not only in terms of people are not talking about economy of scale anymore. People are talking about economy of speed. Singapore and Indonesia are bigger than Singapore, but you can see Singapore and Malaysia, we are bigger than in Singapore, but because of the speed, they are more prosperous than us. So the size of the country, the size of your product it doesn't matter. It's a matter of how you do it and what cost of speed, cost, and also the quality of the product. So I think to end my session, I would like to suggest that these are the combination of way forward for our economy. We need human capital. We need structure capital, we need financial capital, technology innovation capital, and the last is not least is relational capital, which is I think is part of our marketing strategy in future. But anyhow, would there be a political will? So I'll leave it to you all to think and to suggest for our better Malaysia. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Okay, so thank you very much, Dato. So Dato Sri has addressed several issues very important, including trustworthy and also the corruptions. Okay, but I think what he has addressed is university should play a role to produce the good outcomes. So the outcome should be maybe fulfill requirement of not only local industry but a global workforce. Okay, same as he said about the, you can stay in Malaysia but working outside. Maybe there are few basically industry are doing this internationally, so they just outsource what they are doing to the people who are everywhere. So this is a new way of workforce in the future. Okay, so we will go to the next speaker, which is Associate Professor N. Vergis. Okay, hi. Okay, all right. So she may address about the issues on, maybe you can continue to address what has been addressed by Dato Sri about the, to fulfill a global workforce requirement, and also with your experience as academic director for teaching and learning of University of Reading, and also you head of law at the School of Law at the university. Okay, maybe you can share some of your thought about that, and also maybe maybe you can give some comment on the what is initiative that currently has established by government, and then what you think should be done in the future. Okay, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here. I think the topic that we have today is very apt. Education, talent, technology, innovation. Now, four things have been jumbled up together. But if you look at it, education sets the base to build talent, to enhance technology, and to encourage innovation. So that's the whole concept, actually, right? Now, while there's a variety, if you look at the preamble of the handout that was given to you all, right? They talked about Iskandar being a growing regional education hub, right? With several leading international education institutions located at EduCity. And there are certain questions that we look at. I come from University of Reading, Malaysia, right? And my campus, my university is an international branch campus, which has been invited by the Malaysian government, I think in early 2010, right, to come and set up, right, because of government's ambition and aim to provide quality education in this region, number one. And secondly, actually to come an international regional hub for education, right? So with that in mind, right, I'm going to look at four things. All right, I'm going to try to break it up, simple four things, because typically I know only universities, people in the universities, like four of us, are also glammed up about education. Everybody else don't care, right? They just want quality graduates and employees, right? Just they want graduates with good graduate outcomes and becoming good employees. But actually the process is tied up for all of us, actually. All of us are supposed to work collaboratively, right? So I'm going to look at four things. Firstly, I'm going to look at what is the trend globally. What's happening globally? Secondly, I'm going to look at what's closer to home. What is it for us in Malaysia? Thirdly, what is it in for Iskandar, Malaysia? And the last one, so what's the problem? Right? Simple version, right? Simple version here. So the first thing is, let's look at global trend. Now, global trend in the past, right? Top English-speaking countries like US, UK, Australia, Canada, and all these countries have historically benefited with Asian students going over there for international education, right? So the trend has been, Asian students' mobility towards those countries. And the idea in the past has always been the West is the best, right? Is slowly fizzling out. Why? Not because the West is not the best anymore, but also because Asia has a lot of our own universities who are doing very well in the QS rankings, plus the West has now come to the East, right? Branch campuses like us, Newcastle, Southampton. In Malaysia, I'm not sure you all know, we actually have 10 international branch campuses, 5 come from the UK, 3 from Australia, 1 from Ireland, and 1 from China. Right? So there are 10 international branch campuses in Malaysia where they've brought global qualification nearer to home. Right? So there are a lot of benefits there. So the global trend is changing. Now, what China, Japan, Malaysia, South Korea, Taiwan, all are aspiring to become educational hubs, right? So we are in there, so we are caught in this game there. Now the question is, who does it better, right? Now students, the student market are becoming increasingly smarter, right? Our children are very able and capable people. If you ask them now, what do you want to study, right? Pretty much 50% of them will tell you, this is what I want to do, this is where I want to go, this is the course. They will actually draw the whole roadmap for you and make your life either easy or miserable when you see the sum, right? So that's the bit. So students are aware, but students are also aware that they can get quality education at cheaper costs. So it's not just about brand name, but cost factors, right? Take a Great Plains inside. So they increasingly are attracted to lower tuition fees, high quality institutions. They're always asking about rankings, right? High quality institutions, typical question, scholarship, right? What do I get, right? And last bit, employability is fundamental, right? This is the Asian market we're talking about. So they're very into, what do I get? How do I do this fast? What, like fast track, a lot of fast track. If I do one qualification, can I get 2 degrees in it? There's a lot of this kind of aspiration they have. So, but there's a number of reasons for this, right? Number one, because a lot of Asian universities now already have increased their rankings. Even our local private universities all have high rankings, number one, right? Number two, Asia's fast-growing economy is like China, India, right? Indonesia, Japan, South Korea, they're kind of expanding very drastically, right? China, right? Everybody's been talking about China, I think, the whole day, right? So China, right? The continent's powerhouse, with their One Belt, One Roads initiative, is also offering thousands of scholarships to attract students to their region, right? Students everywhere want programs which are professional in nature, gives them strong employability. So learning outcome, that's what Dato just said, right? Learning outcome-based education is fundamental. So with all this in mind, this is happening globally, right? So where do we compete? So what's happening to us back home here, right? Now closer to home, we had the national key economy areas, right? And education was one of the 12 areas that has been identified. We have the Malaysian blueprint, and that's a very interesting document, right? Malaysian blueprint was dated 2015. The scope they cover is 2015 to 2025. You're kind of 2 years to the due date there, right? And they were talking about accessible higher education, global recognition, all these elements that they were talking about. They wanted to aspire for Malaysia to be that quality hub, education hub, right? And in the blueprint, they also set a target that Malaysia should reach a long-term goal of 250,000 international students by 2025, right? That is the target set. Now, what's happening? Where are we now? We're 2 years to that. I mean, there's no official data anywhere that's come out from EMGS or Mohd on it, but the word is we're kind of around 150,000. So we are short, actually. Now, we have to go back. Of course, it's good for us. We always love to blame the 2 years of COVID because nobody could go anywhere, right? But take that aside, we're still kind of far off reaching the goal. Now, what has Malaysia done to deal with this? We want 250,000 international students. So what do? We want to be a quality education hub. What do we do? So they took this initiative to open up, to globalize education, right? To globalize education in Malaysia, right? So what they did was to do internationalization. They brought branch campuses in. Like I mentioned just now, there are 10 branch campuses in Malaysia. They gave concession, they gave incentives, at federal and state government level to start off. So yes, that's why we are all here, right? But what happened after that? the story after that, that was the nice part of the story, right? So we happily came and settled in Iskandar because we saw Iskandar as a promising zone, right? And it is a promising zone. It still is. But what's in for Iskandar? Now, Iskandar is more strategic. Whenever we talk about education in Malaysia, everybody talks about Klang Valley. Everybody talks about Go KL, right? Every student. And I go to education fairs and events and I talk to parents and I tell them, oh, I'm in Reading. And they say, oh, which part of KL? And I say, not in KL, I'm in Iskandar, Malaysia. They went, where? And I say Iskandar, Malaysia. I say EduCity is even, double whammy they give me. Iskandar, Malaysia, like, oh, okay, but what's there, right? And I have to brand myself and landmark myself to Legoland. Bit depressing, right? So I'm saying, oh, I'm 5 minutes from Legoland. I think Chris has that also, right? 5 minutes from Legoland and 20 minutes to the second link to Singapore. Oh, so that's where you are. And they go, not KL, huh? After all that, not KL, huh? I mean, thank God, that was 5 years ago. Like, it's gone better. It's gone better, right? So let's think about this. We've got this huge, big project, and I know I went for an Iskandar Malaysia forum a couple of weeks back, and I was quizzed about how big Iskandar Malaysia is, and it's 2,400 kilometers or something like that. They were so proud, so big. Like, yes, but 2,400 kilometers, such a big project. I've been in Sabah and Sarawak and knows about it. So I think that's one that's lacking. What we're doing to boost this place, to talk about it, it's such a big project. I mean, it makes it sound like it's a very private project. It's not. It's not a private project. It's a huge project. So what are we doing about it? And I think that's common for all our sectors that we're talking about. I think that publicity, that recognition for this zone needs to be better. It deserves better than this. That's one, right? So if we can do that, because we can be instrumental, right? We are the education hub. I think to what I know, there's only one education hub in Malaysia, right? And it's very strategically located, right, at the tip of Malaysia, right? We are in Johor. Johor is very hyper state with JDT and everything, right? What more, right? So I think a lot more promotion needs to be done, firstly, to Malaysians. The awareness among Malaysians is, we need to do quite a bit more, right? And then you go out strategically. Because KL has always been on the map for everyone, but not Johor, right? So that's the bit. Johor goes missing because of Singapore, right? So that's the bit I think we need to do. So once we can do this, we can boost Malaysia as an education hub. So we become an education hub. In turn, we boost Malaysia's recognition globally, right? We increase Malaysia's revenue, right? And that's achieved by our education, right? We've got good institutions. You've got good institutions in this region. Iskandar hosts a number of international branch campuses, including Reading, Newcastle, Southampton, all here. And we all have our specialization. And we offer international degrees and qualifications which are ranked globally nearer to everybody at a fraction of a cost. Oh my God, sounds like a marketer now, right? But that's what it does. So if you go and do the maths, you'll find that you get kind of a 40% of the cost. That's what it is. So that is already nearer to home. Of course, we always tell our students, we only cannot give you the different weather, right, in the foreign countries. But yeah, everything else is similar. So, and we promote quality education because, to get global rankings is not an easy task. You don't pay under table money anywhere, right? You need to do the work. You're constantly audited, right? You're constantly audited. So that's one bit. So with all this being, so it seems like we are in a very nice location, very promising. But what's the problem? So the last bit, what's the problem, right?
Okay.
One second.
Another one.
Let's deal with the problem.
Okay, no problem.
Right? Okay, so what's the problem here? So the problem here is, like I said, right? There's no promotion on the location. Okay, now when we do the promotion and we locate, and we do all this thing, with these huge billboards. I mean, seriously, do we see any signs anywhere on the highway about this project? And the names, I think I saw somewhere EduCity at kilometer something near Kulai at one point of time, and it goes missing after that. Right? So I think there's a lot more needs to be done. But once we've done this, what next? Students are not just going to drive in, international students are not just going to come and fall into your arms. We need to understand the students' needs. We need to understand the student's journey. Everybody thinks about student coming in is just education, study, learning only what? No. The whole student's journey, A to Z, learning is one part of it. The whole experience of coming in, the whole process of application, immigration issues, how they're being handled, the support given, all this matters. Attracting students is challenging, but can be done. But attracting doesn't stop there. You have to retain them. What happens if you get somebody who's a dropout after one semester, right, and goes missing, cannot be detected in the country, right? So retaining them and ensuring successful graduation is fundamental, right? And all that, who can do best? The institutions, the universities. But ironically, I think the institutions need to be engaged more with. Institution, let's just forget the myth. I think there's limited knowledge that, that perception that institution only delivers teaching. Hey, we are a wealth of expertise there. We do real research, real data, real information, which can support every industry, right? So at every industry there is. So, you don't need to spend that resourcing doing that background work. So the institutions will be able to, that's one. Secondly, so we need to meet the needs of the students. Secondly, we need to align compliance and regulation. We are in Iskandar, and Iskandar is in Johor. So if this is going to be a hub, then there must be enough support for this region. We cannot be running every time to central for everything and anything. That's not efficiency. So there must be enough support given in this region. So Iskandar Malaysia has to align with Johor state government, with the federal government to say, we've got a Sinai airport. Sinai airport is an international airport, which means our students should be able to come in through this port of entrance. Shouldn't be going and picking them at KLIA and trying to clear them there, right? So these are the things we're talking about. So I think all these needs to be aligned, and this can only be done if there's more engagement by Iskandar, by the state government, with the institutions who are here, who will be instrumental in realizing your dreams and ambition. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you very much, Prof. N. Okay, I think issues that addressed by her is valid, because we want to be a hub of the education in Iskandar, Malaysia, basically. So I hope that they are representative from government state of Johor can take these issues and then maybe, being discussed. I heard that they may have a council of higher education Johor later on. So hopefully this issue will be addressed. Okay, so our last speaker is Professor Christopher Baldwin.
Yes.
Baldwin, okay. So he's from the Newcastle University Medicine, Malaysia. So previously, he working with Newcastle University since 1995. I think he has previously acted as a senior lecturer, head of School of Biomedical Science at Newcastle University, UK, and also become a Dean of Biomedical and Foundation Science at Newcastle Medicine University in Newcastle, UK. So I think he have a great experience. Maybe he will share with us because he know situation in England and also Malaysia. So maybe he can share with us about the internationalization and also how to promote the Iskandar to be a hub of education in near future. Okay, please.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I'm English and I'm the only English speaker here today, so that's unusual. But I would like to say I've been here in Johor now for the last 8 years, so hopefully you'll consider me Johorian, at least to some extent, especially with the amount of Johor food that I've eaten over the years. So it's very nice to be here today. Thank you very much. I I don't actually live at Iskandar Patiri. I live in Permasjaya, if you know. So it's quite a drive away. But it's had a lovely time here over the last 8 years. Really, I wanted to talk about why it's important to develop education, JB, whether at private universities or at public universities. Some of the areas have been covered already, but just to go over them. And I think there's two main areas. One of those areas is to develop the relevant talent that we need here in Johor and Malaysia overall. And so about that, it's about developing our programs, developing how we develop our programs, and how we go about that. Very much in the past is what British universities used to do, is what we would call lift and shift. We would have a program in the UK, go, donk, take that program, plonk it down here, Malaysia. That's what we teach. That's not right anymore. Can't do that. We have to adapt our course. Now I'm Newcastle University Medicine, Malaysia, mainly our students are medical students. We have to have accreditation with the UK, with the General Medical Council, but we also have accreditation with the Malaysian. So there is some movement of our programs. But we're looking to develop new programs now over the next few years, looking to do new things. Probably, obviously, the areas we're looking at with computing, data, those sort of things. But is what we're doing, we're not just taking the programs that we've got in the UK. We have been working over the last 6 months to 8 months, people like Talent Corps, MyDec, talking to lots of industries. I should unfortunately say up in KL, we haven't done much here with Johor, to actually ask people what they want, what the talent is they need, what is it that they want. So we as a UK university will have to develop our programs for what is locally relevant in Malaysia. It's not, we can't just take what's relevant in the UK, that might not be relevant. There can be a mixture of the two. So we're looking at developing that, and actually anyone who's here who would like to either contribute to us by talking to us to say what you need, or we're going to set up an industrial relations board over the next few months. Anyone who would like to be part of that industrial relations board to advise us on developing things, please come and see me and talk to me, because we really take your input is very important to help us develop things as we go along. So that is actually a big change, I think, by any of the branch campuses over the last few years, that it's not just you get given what we give in the UK, you have to adapt to what we're doing here. So I think that's what we're doing. And then the other thing, we're research, we all do research, we're all very proud of our research, but once again, our research has to be focused on what's relevant in Malaysia. There's no point us doing research that's relevant in the UK, totally irrelevant. We need to work with Malaysian companies, the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Higher Education, whoever it may be, to look at research that is relevant for Malaysia. That's what we've got to do, and that's what we've got to develop. So that's for me. So very much, we've got the feedback from everyone today. We need the right talent, we need those talent in the right places, we need those pipelines. We will work with you to try to develop that talent. And please, we are open to you to come and see us. It's not, don't think, oh, they're a university, they're an English university, they don't want to see us. We do want to see you. We're really keen to talk to you. So that's the first part of what I'm talking about. So universities are important to develop the talent that we need. Hopefully it's local talent, and hopefully all the talent doesn't disappear off to Singapore, but hopefully it's local talent, but also it may be for the whole of Malaysia. The second thing is about recruiting students, and there's two areas to this, recruiting Malaysian students and recruiting international students. So we as Newcastle, Malaysia, we recruit our students, 50% of our students come from Johor. So 50% of our Malaysian students come from Johor, about 30% from Klang, about 20% Sabah and Sarawak, and 10% from everywhere. Now, why aren't we getting more students from other places? Anne sort of mentioned this, and we were both at the same fair, SureWorks fair in KL a couple of weeks ago. Yes, we always have to say we're at Legoland, but there's also another thing. There is a perception in KL and Penang that Johor is dangerous. I see mothers and they come along to me and say, where are you? I say, I'm in Johor. And they go, ooh, my daughter can't go there. We know that's not true. But there doesn't, and I've been here 8 years now, and there still seems to be this perception that Johor is dangerous. I don't know where that's come from. It's not dangerous. I'm sure there's bits in KL that are much more dangerous than there are here in Johor. So the state government has got to try to do something of dispelling this sort of myth that Johor is dangerous. It isn't dangerous. So we've got to sell who we are as Johor, but we've also got to get rid of this scary, Johor is scary, we don't want to come here. Because people will not send their students to us, or mothers and fathers just, and I can say Johor is very safe, my daughter goes out everywhere and this and that, but they won't believe me, they have this thing. So we've got to think about that. We've also got to develop, and unfortunately it still hasn't worked, we've got to have a sort of, why would people come to Johor? If I'm in the UK and I'm selling Newcastle University UK, half of it is about the quality of the education and half of it is where you're going to study. It's about the culture, it's about the living standards, it's about those sort of things. And I still don't think as Johor we've got a good message that we can sell. There's nowhere I can easily go and link to a website to say, come to Johor, look at this culture we've got, look at this eco-tourism we've got, look at these sort of things that we've got. In the UK, I can do that. Malaysia, I can't do that with Johor. So I think that there needs to be some work for encouraging people and selling Johor as a destination. A medical student comes to us, does a foundation, 5 years of medicine. They got 6 years here. I always tell my students that you've got to be happy where you live. You've got to want to live here. When they come here, when we manage to get them down from KL, they're, oh, it's lovely. But we've got to get them to come down here. So that's important with the Malaysian students. Now, interestingly, international students do not have any of this fear. They haven't got this Johor is dangerous. They don't even think that. But that is where you've got to then sell why is Johor a good place to live. The next question is, why do we want international students? Now, we want international students for lots of educational reasons, but for here as the business and investment. I can tell you, so in the UK, international students, over and above the fees, just in money into the local community and things, is £42 billion. So that's what, 220 billion ringgit in the country in the UK. If we just took the northeast of England, where I'm from, there's 6 universities, it's got a population about the size of Johor State. International students bring into the economy about £1 billion. That's 5 billion a year. So that's an awful lot of money. That's their spending. That's their spending when they go out. That's their spending on food. That's going to the shops, going to the cinema, tourism and those sort of things. So having international students is good for us educationally, but it's also good for you as business people because you get a lot of money coming in from those students. So it's very, very important that we get those. Now, we are very lucky. We're probably one of the unusual universities. We do get a lot of international students. We get too many international students. We have to stop. 50% of our intake now is international. So we get a lot of students.
Okay, bro.
Yeah, but
Okay, another one, last point.
Last point. But it is difficult, and I think the biggest thing that we need to do, actually I have 2 points, is visa applications are harder for international students to come to Malaysia than Malaysian students to go to the UK. And secondly, all countries who want international students offer post-graduation work visas. Malaysia doesn't do that. And that's not the state government, that's the federal government. So there's got to be some thought about visa processes and also possibility of postgraduate. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Prof. So I think the issues has been addressed is very good, I think. So the Johor state government need to consider to promote, Iskandar as a hub of the education, and then maybe some of investment need to be done in the local authority level. Okay, all right. So we open for question and answer because we are running out of time. Maybe 1 or 2 questions, please. because we have another session after this, 4:30. Okay, question from the floor? Okay, please, Tan Sri.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
please.
you. I got one question is, university, whether it's local, overseas, they must have collaboration and input from the industry players. So beside medical, which is quite a specialized university, I think the important thing is to get the postgraduate program coming in, where the country need a lot of specialists. But for reading university, I think you are competing with the local university because your courses is very common. Most of the university offer. But very sad case is reading got the name. But that the student come up from there, I said to say, it's not industry tune, local industry. Whereas, for example, I'm a contractor. So I use a lot of QS from UTHM, okay. But for reading, we got problem. So this is a feedback from an industry player. Please look into your program whereby your training of this, hopefully the university tune up good graduate, which is industry required. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So the question about the competency of graduate. So maybe, please, if you want to answer.
Thank you for the feedback. Typically, we've got 8 programs on campus, right? So our programs run from the business school programs, Hanley Business School programs, accounting and finance, finance business management, real estate, and business management. Then we also have psychology, we have QS, we have law, and we have foundation programs. Now, yes, these are undergraduate programs because I hear you, right, to have postgraduate studies, but you cannot have a postgraduate study without a feeder from the start, right? Now, these 8 programs are actually top programs in Reading, UK. They may sound common with all the programs here because everybody wants to offer business programs because they're quite cheap and easy to run, right? But I think what's important is to look at the quality of the program itself. Now, our programs, all of them have industry engagement. A lot of industry engagement. I will take feedback. I think the feedback just now was specific to QS. That's what I hear, right? I will bring that back to my QS team, but the QS team works very closely with the RISM, with BQSM and all these industries. I'm quite surprised to hear that because we're a very small group of students. University. Our student population is 700 over students. And our students, in a year, we graduate about 200 students. Typically, these students get employed even before they graduate. So that's our graduation rate, right? So that's our employability rate. So I need to see where the gap is. But definitely, we do engage with the industry a lot, right? And each of our sectors do complement each other.
Okay, so thank you. So I think we running out of time. So I will give panel 1 minute to conclude. Maybe you can address the issues of competency and employability, and also some sort like skill or feedback. Okay, please, Dato, maybe can you?
Just one point. Our problem today, the feeder, we want to train at the tertiary level, especially on Tibet. For instance, UTHM, since the EN industry is very emerging, but the number of students who enroll on EN lesser than the civil engineering or any related to the other than ENE. So they do not know actually what the industry wants. I agree with what Tansi was mentioned. So that's why for in the future, we need to encourage more students to take STEM, science, technology, engineering, mathematics. This should be planted during the secondary school. During our time, we have science and art stream. Now, no more. Every student can choose. And most of students, and most teachers encourage students to go for art stream in order to get the good result. They're looking for many A's. That's why I can see good result, but it's very, low intake on the STEM side. So for that matter, I think this is another challenge for us. We need to address what the industry wants. So the mismatch, what the KPT now is doing actually to work closely with industry. In UTHM, we are offering any industry who want to work with us, please come. You can direct to me, and we offer you as fast as possible. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dato. Maybe Chris, you can address some issues on the close the gap between industry and university.
I mean, very specifically, because we're a medical school, I don't really think there is a gap there because we have to work to very high accreditation standards of both the Malaysian Medical Council and the General Medical Council. But as we go forward and move out of being a medical school and work in other areas, developing programs in other areas, as I said before, it is up to us as a university and really with your help, and we need volunteers to help us to make sure that we do have our graduates are graduated with those right skills, and we will work with you as much as we can.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that having the industry involved from the start with the students' education journey is very important, right? So, we need to go back and think of ourselves when we were 17-year-old. What did we know? How much did we know? Over the years, the learning experience came in, right? So likewise, the university is a starting base. But in that period of time, we inculcate kind of a holistic experiential learning so that everyone from the industry can come in. So industry being involved in the education itself is not separate and distinct. It is to work together to create that kind of talent that is required and needed. So we welcome the industry to join us also.
Okay, so thank you very much to all our panel because they give insight and whatnot. Hopefully, they have some repertoire over here. They can list down the issues that being addressed, then can put forward to the government. Maybe there are some initiative in the future to realize that, Johor Maju 2030. Okay, Iskandar Malaysia will be hub of the education. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much to Professor Dr. Muhammad Shafry.